The wait is almost over. You don't need me to tell you that. Paolo Banchero posted that on Instagram earlier today. And so indeed, the final countdown is on. What the Magic need to keep with Paolo Banchero back and what Paolo's return might finally mean today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is January 7th and will be January 8th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, I planned this before I saw the Instagram post, but the countdown is on. The wait is almost over. By the time you listen to this, Paolo Banchero might already be announced that he's back. I'm not saying that he will definitely be back Thursday, as I'm recording this on Tuesday evening. But we are very clearly in the final stages of Paolo's return. What Paolo's return means for the Magic, the obvious and the not obvious, and what the Magic have to keep from their time with Paolo out. We'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. And you can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic daily newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. We knew this before Paolo may have initially lit the fuse and warned us of things, but we are in the final countdowns to Paolo Banchero's return. After 2+ months being on the shelf with a torn right oblique, we know for a fact Paolo Banchero is shooting, that he is doing light contact. We know for a fact that he is no longer listed as out with a torn right oblique. We know for a fact that he is fully healed, as he described it. We know for a fact that he is going through return to competition conditioning. However you want to describe it, however you want to define it, we are in the final countdown to Paolo Banchero's return to the court for the Orlando Magic. It is not a matter of if, it never was. It is a matter of when. And it's not really even a matter of when. It is a matter of days. As Jamal Mosley put it before Sunday's game, it is truly about returning to competition conditioning, making sure he can get through a full game or get through whatever minutes are ready to roll out at him, making sure he can handle contact and handle the stresses of an NBA game. But that is a hurdle to climb. And the Magic will practice Wednesday. I will be there Wednesday afternoon. You might be listening to this after that practice. It is really just a matter of when the Magic feel comfortable for him to return. It could be Wednesday, it could be Thursday, it could be Friday's game, it could be Sunday's game, it could be on the road trip to Milwaukee and to Boston. But it is here. Paolo Banchero is set to return, TBD, but not too far into the future. Now, obviously, this is a big deal. It is a big deal. The Magic have been playing not with one arm tied behind their back because they are enough, as they've told us repeatedly, as they've proven to us repeatedly. But I've mentioned this a million times. The margin for error for the Orlando Magic has been exceptionally small. The offense has obviously ground to a halt. Since Paolo Banchero's injury, the Orlando Magic have one of the worst offenses in the league. And if you give me time to look it up, I will get you the full stats as I saw here and pull it up on my screen. The Orlando Magic, of course, currently ranked 26th in the league in offensive rating at 108.6 points per 100 possessions. Before Paolo Banchero's injury, and that will include the game against the Chicago Bulls, which was not a strong offensive game, the Orlando Magic were actually 15th in the league with a 111.8 offensive rating. They were 3 points per 100 possessions better with Banchero on the floor. Or with Banchero in the lineup, forget on the floor, in the lineup. And 111.8 would be 16th in the league. Again, the Magic are trying to do something they haven't done since Dwight Howard. And that is and that is be out of the bottom 10 in the league in offensive rating. Since Paolo Banchero's injury, and yes, that is the majority of the season, I will grant you a 5-game sample is not enough to draw many conclusions. Since Paolo Banchero's injury, the Magic are 27th in the league with a 108.1 offensive rating. To say the least, and we'll get to some more numbers on this in a minute, to say the least, Paolo Banchero will have a huge effect on the team's offense because he is someone you have to account for. He is someone that demands a double team every time he touches the ball. He is someone who can create shots out of nothing, can force his way to the foul line. It has been a while since the Magic had someone like that. And Franz Wagner did a great job stepping up into that role. But obviously for the last month, the Magic have been struggling to recreate that. In fact, let me give you those numbers. Since Franz Wagner's injury on December 7th, so starting on December 8th, the Orlando Magic have the second worst offense in the league at 105.4 points per 100 possessions. Essentially, granted, small samples on a lot of these things. Essentially, the Magic are Paolo Banchero is worth 3 points per 100 possessions, and Franz Wagner is worth 3 points per 100 possessions. That's, again, 6 points per 100 possessions left on the bench. And I know Franz played while Paolo was playing, but we'll ignore that just so I can make my point. It doesn't take a rocket scientist for someone to tell you missing your best players hurts. When you do not have your best players on the floor, you are going to struggle. And the Magic have struggled as much as anyone. I want to talk about what the Magic need to do and keep doing when Paolo Banchero is healthy and what they've been successful at since the injury. But let me get this point out early. The Orlando Magic need to keep shooting because the Magic are a better shooting team when Paolo Banchero is on the floor. 5 games, I'm going to grant you that. The Orlando Magic are still the worst team in the league in three-point field goal percentage. They're shooting about 31%. Now, that would be the worst mark in a dozen years if that continues. They had made only 30.3%. Let me actually get these numbers. I got to update my numbers here, so I apologize for this. Since Paolo Banchero's injury, again, on Halloween, so the majority of the season, so the numbers going to be really bad, the Orlando Magic are shooting 30.4% from the floor. From three, excuse me. But in the 5 games Banchero played, the Magic actually shot a respectable 34.6% from three. Orlando took 42.8 3-point attempts per game with Banchero in the lineup compared to the 36.1 sits, getting fewer shots. And again, fewer bites at the apple. For the season, the Orlando Magic are averaging about 23-point attempts with the closest defender 6 or more feet away, according to NBA.com. That's still 10th most in the league by the way. They got like 27 of them against the Knicks. They did really well against the Raptors. The team only makes 33.3% of those shots. Making shots is the biggest issue, not getting the shots. But while Banchero was playing, again, 5 games, small sample, not going to overblow it. The Magic took 25.6 wide open 3-point attempts per game, 25.6 of these wide open 3-point attempts per game, and made 38.3% of those shots. They were second most wide open threes in the league at the time. Maybe teams were betting that the Magic would miss, or maybe just Paolo Banchero has that kind of gravity. According to data from Second Spectrum, he creates 15.2 assist points per game. He passed to 9.4 3-point attempts per game, 3.4 per game to Jalen Suggs, who was shooting about 40% from 3 early in the season. These are small sample sizes, but they are proof, or at least the beginnings of proof, of how important Paolo Banchero was to the functioning of this offense. To getting great looks for Jalen Suggs, who's an excellent catch-and-shoot three-pointer, who has not taken very many catch-and-shoot three-pointers since Paolo's injury. Let me pull up those numbers. Let me get those numbers. Let me be precise and give you the actual numbers on these things. Since Paolo Banchero's injury, or catch-and-shoot three-pointers, Jalen Suggs is averaging, let me get this, and this is all according to Second Spectrum, so I apologize for not having this ready. Where is what I'm looking for? Sorry about that. I apologize for not having this ready. I'm working off some old numbers here, so I want to make sure I get the updated numbers. Since Paolo Banchero's injury, Jalen Suggs is shooting 3.9 catch-and-shoot 3-point attempts per game at 29.2%. Since Franz Wagner's injury, he is shooting 2.7 at 25.9%. In the 5 games before Paolo Banchero's injury, Jalen Suggs took 6.4 catch and shoot 3-point attempts per game at 53.1%. The Magic have parts of their offense they've been unable to unlock because they needed guys on the ball. Paolo Banchero changes all of that. And so, again, first couple games back, don't expect all-star Paolo Banchero. It's going to take, he'll have good games. He'll have bad games when he comes back. It's going to take a while. They're going to limit his minutes. It's not going to be Paolo at 100%. But very clearly, the numbers, which don't always love Paolo, clearly show that he makes a positive impact. Paolo Banchero is going to change this Magic team in significant ways. As good as they are now, he will make them better. But I want to make sure this point is made too. Just because Paolo is back doesn't mean things change. What the Magic need to keep from their time without Paolo coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Ultimate College Basketball HC. I want to take a moment to introduce you to a brand new mobile game that I'm really excited about. I love when I get my NBA video games or my basketball video games. I love to play the GM. We all love to play GM. And that's what Ultimate College Basketball HC gives you. If you've ever dreamed of being a college basketball head coach, this is your chance to step into those shoes. In Ultimate College Basketball HC, you control every detail of your program, from recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps, handling NIL deals, and managing scholarships. It's all in your hands. And when it comes to game time, you get to drop offensive plays and set your strategy. The way you play won't just affect the current season, it will shape the future of your school's basketball program. It's a game that lets you feel the full weight of what it means to be a head coach and lead your team to glory. Here's a special offer for Locked On NBA listeners. Use promo code LOCKEDONCBB, all caps, inside the game store to get a free boost for your program. It's a perfect way to kickstart your coaching career. To download Ultimate College Basketball HC, just visit ultimate-cbb.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate College Basketball HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Paolo Banchero's return is going to have a huge impact on this team. And again, I'm sitting here recording on Tuesday night. It's about 10 o'clock on Tuesday night. Tells you when I record. About 10 o'clock here on Tuesday night. I have no information that there's news coming tomorrow. There's news coming Wednesday. You might be listening to this and they might have announced something. You might be listening to this and we go to practice and we don't hear anything. We'll update it all tomorrow on the show. Don't worry. We will rehash a lot of this stuff. But again, I want to repeat, there's nothing concrete as of recording, but we know we are getting close. Again, Paolo Banchero has told us we are getting close, that it is not so far away that he will be back in the lineup. It's a great day. It's a lot of fun. It's something we've been waiting for and really excited for. But let's make no mistake about it either. The Magic were 3-2 when Paolo Banchero got hurt. They are now 21-15. They have gone 18 and 13 since Banchero's injury. They have played really well. And whether it's, Franz Wagner emerging into an all-star is a big part of it. They're holding the ship steady without Franz and Paolo at the moment. They've had some big wins in the process. This is a good team. I don't think I'm saying anything earth-shattering there. This is a good team. I have told you all, believe in this team. Believe in what this team is capable of. They are not going anywhere, and they keep proving that they are not going anywhere. So, the question then becomes, or the issue then becomes, what do the Magic need to do to carry this forward? Adding Paolo Banchero is a pretty big shock to the system. I mean, it'll be a good thing. It's not a bad thing to add Paolo Banchero back. But this team has found a formula for success. They found a way to win. And just because Paolo is back does not mean that formula changes. Let's make that 100% clear. Just because Paolo is back does not mean that formula changes. Everything for this team still starts on the defensive end. And while I think the Magic are going to be a significantly better offensive team with Paolo back, the Magic were decent with Franz, remember, with just Franz. They will be a better offensive team with Paolo back. And that's going to give them some cushion to not be so crazy on defense. They can have a bad defensive game and still give themselves a chance to win, or a mediocre defensive game. Right now, if the Magic don't play elite defense, they don't win. And frankly, even when they do play elite defense, sometimes they don't win. That's what happened on Sunday against the Jazz. Magic gave up a 107 off defensive rating. They gave 107 points for 100 possessions. You're going to win almost every game that you do that. That is elite. That is about the Magic's average. They just couldn't score. They just couldn't score enough. And right now, the Magic lack a true downhill attacker, a consistent downhill attacker. They lack a way to get to the foul line consistently. They lack ways to just create tension in the defense. Paolo Banchero, by his presence, is tension on the defense. He is someone that forces the defense to react to him. The Magic don't have that. They have to work and manipulate for space. But this is the major point then. For the Magic to continue being successful, they have to keep this level of defense. If they keep this level of defense and get to an average offense, we're not even talking about being a good offense, just an average offense, which the Magic were in those first 5 games, the Magic become a very dangerous team. The Magic become a team that strangles the Miami Heat on the road, that can play these dogfights and pull away at the very end. That's who this Magic team has been already. So bring in a Paolo Banchero, get off to better starts offensively, and your defense can put that chokehold and end games early. When do the Magic blow teams out right now? Like, they just don't. They don't have the offense. But if the Magic's defense continues at this level, they're going to be very good. We know that. The next issue then becomes, how can the Magic keep the gains and the growth that they've seen from key players with Paolo? Honestly, I think this is the most important thing. While the offense has not been inspiring and there are issues to resolve, I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. While there are clearly issues to resolve for this team, the biggest thing that the Magic have to work with or figure out is, how do they, or the biggest thing that the Magic have to deal with right now is, how do they make sure Franz still plays like all-star Franz when he comes back? How do they take advantage of Tristan da Silva's playmaking? How do they take advantage of Jalen Suggs' growth as a lead playmaker? Something we'll talk about a little bit more tomorrow. The Magic have gained a lot from this time. A lot of players have gained confidence in bigger roles. They have fit nicely. And obviously, like, Paolo changes things. He changes the orbit of things a little bit. And that's not a good or a bad thing. It just is a thing. The Magic will be working to get everyone going. They will be working with this new reality. What's the biggest thing that I said the Magic needed to do after their playoff loss? They needed to find someone or some way to get Paolo easy shots. Make his job easier. While I don't think you want Jalen Suggs being your leading scorer, your high usage guy for an extended period of time. Jalen Suggs now can alleviate that pressure. Can be someone that can get Paolo a spot-up shot. We talk about Jalen Suggs spot-up shots. Paolo does not get a lot of spot-up shots. In fact, this season alone, Paolo Banchero is totaling just 0.8. Sorry, not 0.8. Is totaling 1.8 spot-up shots per game. They're all threes. They only get spot-up threes, which is okay. The same number as Caleb Houston, by the way. Caleb Houston didn't play. Has played 25 games, 8.9 minutes per game. He gets fewer spot-up opportunities than Jet Howard. Franz Wagner gets 3.1 spot-up threes per game. I want to note that, even with the heavy usage that he had early in this, at that juncture in the season. The Magic have to find a way to get Paolo easy shots, whether it's dumping him down to the dunker spot They can now use him in more creative ways to get him the ball in his spots, to get him the ball in motion, to create that tension in the defense so he's not facing constant double teams. Again, I hate speculating on this, but we can't dismiss the possibility that overuse is why Paolo got hurt and why Franz got hurt too, and why Jalen's now on the shelf. They have a lot to carry and a lot of stress with nothing coming to them easily. Getting Paolo easy shots has to be a priority. And with the growth that the Magic have shown, they should be able to take the ball a little bit more out of his hands. They'll still need him. They'll still need heavy usage from him. He'll still get his shots. Do not worry. He'll still be the main creator. But with the success the Magic have had, and again, in maybe limited circumstances offensively, it's still going to be about getting Paolo some easy looks. Again, we are in that final countdown to Paolo Banchero's return. So what happens after he returns and what does it mean for the rest of the season, besides the obvious? We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. I love going to live events. I look forward to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. I love seeing things in person, feeling the spontaneity of a live crowd. It's unbelievable. One of my favorite memories, other than going to all these Magic games, which I don't need Game Time for, but one of my favorite memories is from the past year was going to WWE SmackDown at the Kia Center, going to see the Lord of the Rings in concert, going to these great shows, going to see Creed at the Kia Center. It was my first arena concert in quite some time. And now you can find your way to these great events too. Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. If you're a busy person like me, you may not always know your schedule or know if you'll be available for that big show you want to go to. But when the day comes, you're like, I want to go to that show. I was looking into tickets. They weren't there. I didn't like the price. I want to go. Game Time has your last minute tickets and tells you whether you're getting a great deal. It's the best place to monitor ticket prices and make sure you're getting the hottest seats in the building. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Paolo Banchero's return is going to have far sweeping consequences for this team. It's not just him being back and boosting the offense and making them better. We know the Magic need Paolo Banchero to compete in the playoffs. Like, look, the Orlando Magic back in 2012, they competed with the Indiana Pacers. They stole a game from them, but without Dwight Howard, they didn't have a chance. Plain and simple. The Pacers adjusted, they changed, they picked them apart. And the rest of that series, like game 4 went to overtime, but the rest of that series wasn't particularly close. When the Magic get to the playoffs, they're going to need their best players. They're going to need them healthy. Just ask the Milwaukee Bucks how valuable healthy players and healthy star players are for the playoffs. It's really hard to win without your best players because, again, the playoffs are just such a different animal. And obviously, we are near the midpoint of the season. Game 38 coming up, I believe. 21-15. Game 37 coming up. The midpoint of the season is right around the corner. And with that comes all eyes being on the playoffs and being ready for the postseason and being the best version of yourself in the postseason. We are 4 weeks away from the trade deadline, February 6th. It is not too far away. And I feel like the Magic have been in sort of a stasis, preparing for the trade deadline. It really does feel like the Magic can't do much because they don't actually know who their team is. They know a lot. You know, we know the weaknesses, but they don't know if their team as constructed has enough to accomplish their goals or if they need maybe a little tweak here or there. Don't expect the Magic to do anything big at the deadline. It's not like they're knocking on the door of winning a championship. At the end of the day, the Magic's ticket to contention is Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner playing together. And they have only played together for 5 games. We don't know how good this team can be. And I don't think the Magic are going to upset the apple cart too much, knowing that even at around the time of the deadline, the Magic will be just working Franz Wagner back into the lineup. Now, it does appear like Franz is making some deeper progress in his return to injury. Mo Wagner suggested on his podcast, or on a podcast appearance he made in Germany, that Franz's tear was not as serious as Paolo's. We have seen Franz doing resistance exercises, which Paolo was not really doing, at least as far as we know, not doing at 4 weeks. We've seen Franz on the FanDuel Sports Network Florida broadcast doing light shooting on the court before the game against the Knicks. The Magic, again, the trade deadline feels like about the time that we will get Franz back, February 6th, early February. So the Magic don't have a clear sense of who their team is and what their team can do at full strength. And so the rest of this season, the second half of this season, is very much about seeing what the full potential of this team can be. Credit to this Magic team. Credit to all the guys, to all the players. We talked about some of them yesterday who haven't lived up to expectations, but they've been a part of a group that has competed, that has put this team in the position that they want to be in. They said at the beginning of the season, their goal was to get home court advantage, knowing how important their home floor is to winning basketball games. And we've seen the power of the Kia Center and what that has done for this team. They are still in position to do that, to accomplish that goal. And like the Cleveland Cavaliers last year, we may look back at this season and say, we were only in that spot because of the injuries early in the season. Let's see what this team can do at full strength. That's essentially what Cleveland said this offseason. If Cleveland loses that playoff series against Orlando, we might have seen some wholesale changes. Cleveland looked at their team and said, our coach is holding us back, but we have the talent to be championship contenders. They learned all that. They didn't make any panic trades. They didn't do anything crazy. They learned all that last year. The Magic might be trying to use the rest of this season to learn and figure out the same thing. Are the Magic an elite team with Paolo and Franz back? The first place to start is to get Paolo back. Now, the good news here is, for things that we may or may not care about, Paolo will be back for the Magic's final 2 nationally televised games, or at least the final 2 scheduled nationally televised games. Next Friday, the Magic are at the Boston Celtics in a huge game, big game. And then a little bit later on in February, the Magic will host the Cleveland Cavaliers. We will get a sense of where this team is at. We will get a sense of how this team measures up with at least one of the 2 key players against the elite teams in the Eastern Conference. And if the Orlando Magic should win both of those games, that could be a warning shot that this is not a 3-team race in the East, but really a 4-team race. And maybe Milwaukee gets thrown in there too, and it's a 5-team race. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I still think the Magic are going to need something to take the step to title contention beyond just Paolo and Franz continuing their ascent to stardom. But this is the storyline for the rest of the season. I'm a big believer of let's set a storyline, let's follow it, let's understand it, let's learn from it. This is the question. With how well the Magic have played so far this year without Paolo and Franz, do Paolo and Franz make this team an elite team? And by elite, I mean a championship contending team, because I don't think they're there yet. And that's what we're going to be learning for the next 44 games, 45 games, with Paolo back in the lineup. Now, again, I want to stress this. Whenever Paolo returns, whether it is Thursday, Friday, Sunday, sometime off in the future, the Magic have another couple of days off, then they'll play at Milwaukee next Wednesday after this string of games on Sunday. It's they play Thursday against Minnesota, Friday against Milwaukee, Sunday against Philadelphia, next Wednesday at Milwaukee, next Friday at Boston, then next Sunday at home against Denver. That's as much of the schedule as I have memorized at the moment. And I think they go to Toronto somewhere in there. We'll get to that later. Paolo's going to need some time to get up and running. He is not going to be superstar Paolo Banchero. He's not going to if he comes out and drops 50 in his first game, let's anoint him the greatest player ever. Let's really push him to be in the All-Star game. If he came out, scored 50 in his first game back, and then scored another, and then averaged 25, 30 all the way to the All-Star break, he might have played the fewest games that get voted in by the coaches. I'm not putting it past him. I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to take some time for Paolo to regain some consistency. He's got to work himself back in. He's going to be under a minute restriction unless he is just tearing the roof off of things. The Magic aren't going to push him. They know they need him for the long haul. But they also know they need him. They also know they need him bad. And as Paolo Banchero said on Instagram on Tuesday, the wait is almost over. But the wait is over for the end of the show. That's going to do it for me. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of them sell podcasts to your podcast-enabled device. You can find us as well on YouTube. Search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. I will have an update from Orlando Magic practice on Wednesday on the Hub before it goes on Orlando Magic Daily. So please do check that out. And as always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, be sure to check out the Locked On Magic Daily newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic. This has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.